Parliament, both houses of Parliament. And before we talk about the new faces in Parliament, let's take a look at the Senate. We have talked about the National Assembly. Let's talk about the Senate. Don't call it the upper house. According to Ngirashu, according to Roslyn, we call it the upper house. Let's take a look at how it looks like in terms of the sharing of the positions. And of course, Jubilee again has that numerical advantage in the Senate with 23 senators. That is, Jubilee Party alone has 23 senators. We have NASA with 21. This includes 13 from ODM, 3 from Wiper, 2 from Ford Kenya, and 2 from Amani National Congress, and there's 1 from CCU. That is NASA. In terms of the PDR has 1 senator. I think it is a Isiolo senator. That is how it looks like. That is how the numbers look like. Is it any different, Rosalind, from the National Assembly? Is it a reflection of what we've seen from the National Assembly?
I think it's almost just the same with what we had in 2013. There is no big difference because the margin is almost the same.
Right.
But when we talk about the senator for Isiolo, obviously she will be on the side of the government because she has been in government side.
Fatma Dula.
Yes. But very interesting as compared to the way we've seen the tyranny of numbers have their way in the National Assembly. When it has come to Senate, it's always about the delegation. So it's never about individuals. And the senators have always gone bipartisan and indicated that we are voting not because we are individuals, but we are representing an entire county. For me, I think that has risen above the petty politics and the party issues to just address issues the way they are. And I think maybe that is why you find the Speaker having a difficult time to retain his seat, because he has also been very impartial when dealing with issues in the House, as compared to the way we've always seen in the National Assembly, like they stand with an issue and there is no other decision. Once it is made, it is made. In the Senate, we've seen so many times the Speaker goes again and changes the ruling that he has done. So again, with the kind of Speaker we'll have, if we'll retain the same Speaker or we'll have a new Speaker, again, we expect the same unless the current senators will change the trend.
Duncan, what do you foresee in the Senate?
I want to concur with Obala. The Senate, it's always termed as the House of Reason, and they look at issues soberly. Even their discourse, when you look at how they engage, it shows you how they are not necessarily pushed by what we witnessed. They are not necessarily pushed by party positions, but I think by and large, because it had seasoned politicians and a crop of lawyers. So when you combine at that, because most of the time the issues that they would handle, you could see sort of battle of intellectuals on the floor. So that perhaps gave it that difference compared to the National Assembly, whereby it was seen as a house of rubber stamp, that would rubber stamp matters to do with the executive. And as Obala says, there was a clear distinction between the two senators. Of course, you look at this Justin Muturi, look at Ekwe, you don't need to tell maybe who exactly in the discharge of their duties was like being strings being pulled from behind the scenes, and one who would sit on that seat and know that he's the Speaker. So we don't expect much to change in terms of the Senate, where we would expect showdown, and as Girasho said, that the busiest, the National Assembly, is where we'll still have that sort of...
Girasho, the new faces in the Senate, some of them, there's Mithika Linturi, the senator-elect from Meru. We have Irungu Kangata, who was in the National Assembly, the 11th Parliament, now a senator from Murang'a. Samuel Pogisho, senator for West Pokot, senator-elect for West Pokot. Professor Margaret Kamar, one of the 3 women elected for the first time in the Senate. We have Susan Kiheka. We have 2 former speakers, Susan Kiheka and Cleopas Malala. We also have Johnson Sakaja. How do these, impact on the business of the Senate from where you sit?
There are 2 issues. One, I wonder whether the Senate will retain its character as a sober house where people talk through issues and where matters are not pushed to the vote until they are fully discussed. I don't know whether that will be retained. I wish that it would be retained, because we need such a house that is more sober, that is seen to be, they think things through. Then I think we'll have a more or less same Senate, where we have some very new faces, and then we have the old hands, the experienced people, James Orengo, Wetangula, Margaret Kamar, Amos Wako. We'll still retain some of that, and then we'll bring in new people. I like that the new people we are bringing in, some of them have a bit of experience. Someone like Linturi has plenty of experience in Parliament and in the National Assembly. So they are also not coming in green. In the last Senate and in the last Parliament generally, we had people who had zero experience of Parliament, of politics even, and who I'm sure even Rosalind sometimes could not, recognize when they meet in the corridors. So this is a better Senate, I think.
Right.
It has new people with ideas, people with experience, learned people, Irongo, Sakaja, and then we have the old hands who can help settle them in, and they handle things.
Rosalind, there was much talk about the fate or future of Kithure Kindiki, the senator-elect for Tharaka Nithi, who was the leader of majority. Do you see Jubilee making any changes there? Of course, given the fact that they won't have their whip, that is Beatrice Elachi. Do you see them hold some changes in the Senate?
Okay, so far, you remember when I started, I said there's so much lobbying going on. And remember when the leadership of the Senate came in and that of the National Assembly, we had, in the last parliament, we had TNA and URP, where it was split between the two parties. And you could see the TNA took the speakership in the National Assembly and the majority leader went to URP. In the Senate, we saw the speaker go to URP and the majority leader goes to TNA. Now here we have a family where we don't have TNA and we have URP. And remember the voting bloc was Central Kenya and Rift Valley. Now the elective positions have spread all over the country. And you remember the Jubilee leadership has been talking about reaching out and having a Kenyan face. So because of this, I'm sure there will be some realignments in terms of region, tribe, just to bringing that support from the other regions. But I don't think so much Kindiki might lose it. It will depend with how the people in this house feel about having him as the majority leader.
All right, let's go back to the National Assembly for the next 15 minutes or so as we wind up. Before we talk about the new faces in the National Assembly, let's talk about what happened in Haimba. I have to ask you this. What happened in Western Kenya? We have 8 Jubilee members of Parliament from Bungoma and Busia and Kakamega counties, rather. Did you expect this? What is your expert analysis of what was happening there?
You're asking what happened. Of course, elections happened and they were elected. But it was a surprise. For instance, Kakamega County, ANC has 5, Jubilee 4, then ODM 2, then Ford Kenya 1 to make a block of 12.
That's Kakamega.
County.
Used to be an ODM zone.
It was an ODM zone, but I think in this whole election process, the biggest beneficiary has been ANC.
Yes.
And the party that has suffered a major setback is Ford Kenya, the grand old party next to KANU. So we've seen the ANC resurgence. Of course, it's a reloaded UDF, now ANC. The ANC, that is the biggest beneficiary. But for Jubilee, yes, it must have come as a surprise because you remember NASA knew that is an area that was under lock and key. So how they managed to get that number of members of parliament, well, again, that could be attributed to the fact that the parties within NASA failed to agree, and they'd been told that the sibling rivalry is what could have cost them, even the county assembly and all that, because we even have in Busia, Wiper has 2 MCAs, simply because Ford Kenya lost and ODM and ANC because of that sibling rivalry. That's how you find Wiper that is maybe far distant you'd expect ordinarily in Busia County, if it's not ODM, next should be ANC or Ford Kenya. But we have 2 elected on Wiper, so that could explain why Jubilee landed many seats in Western, that number that is big, and therefore it is a plus.
What do you think, Girashu?
I think those who are not aware of what Jubilee was doing campaigning in Rift Valley and in Western might have underestimated the impact later. And I was as surprised as Haemba here in seeing the large number of MPs from that region. I was surprised that we in the media had probably not seen it or called it as well as we should have,
right,
in terms of that.
Did you expect it, Rosalie?
I didn't expect it. It's a surprise. But again, just what they're talking about, where the NASA coalition had fielded so many candidates, I think they should have agreed, because the same thing, they've suffered the same fate in Langata. They were having so many candidates as opposed to Jubilee that had one. It just passed katikati.
But they had plenty of opportunity to agree.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. If they will have agreed, then it would have been a very tough contest. But because everybody thought they were the best, then they let Jubilee pass katikati.
All right, let's talk about some of the new faces we are likely to see in the National Assembly, and maybe how you think that will affect the quality of debate. Or, of course, you've talked about Langata. We have Nixon Korir from Jubilee Party. Traditionally, of course, we know Langata has been an ODM constituency since the days it was being represented by Raila Odinga in the National Assembly. We have seen some former journalists, including Mohammed Ali, who is representing Nyali in the National Assembly in the 12th Parliament. Babu Owino. We have seen this Jaguar, that is a popular musician, Jaguar. What is your take on this? Let me start with you, Roslyn. What is your take on how this will impact, or will we even hear them? What is your prediction?
I think we'll hear them, and I think this is very good for the youth, that we are seeing so many youths are coming in to represent their people. They're coming in with various backgrounds, and because of that, we expect them to also represent their people in terms of the fields they're coming in from. But again, the question we beg ourselves is, in the 11th Parliament, we had almost 300 and something MPs. And how many did you hear debate? I think if I was to sit down and count the members of Parliament who are regular, they can't reach more than 20. So we hope this trend will change with these young people injecting new blood in this Parliament.
Did anybody get to is it supposed to be 700 times to speak in the National Assembly for it to be around? Did anybody get close to that?
You see, again, look at it in terms of the leadership. The leadership have more time to speak as opposed to the members. So for the members who will catch the speaker's eye, it's not about catching, but it's about inserting your card and for the speaker to give you a chance. So because of this, some people will insert their cards and walk out because maybe you've waited and you're not seeing you're getting an opportunity. And these are also so many people and the time is not. So it depends with how fast you are, how aggressive you are, and how you articulate and understand issues. All
right. Of course, you have some of those members, including John Kiarie, Dagoretti South Member of Parliament elect, John Paul Murigi, the 24-year-old from Igembe South, 23-year-old. What do you expect, Duncan? Some people have made the jokes about we're going to hear Mr. Speaker Tibim in the National Assembly. What do you expect?
I think now the likes of Duale is going into his third term. Now he's now an old guard, and with all due respect, he'll now perhaps save for his position because 100% sure he will retain his leadership as the majority leader. So we are likely to see the likes of Mbadi are going to be outshone because a house where you have Mohammed Ali, a house where you have Mr. Tibim, Babu Owino, a house where you have KJ, a house where you have Martha Wangare. We are going to see a battle of wits, and these are people who are going in with a cause. If I'm not sure. Babu Owino has been perennial. They've called him the Mugabe of Nairobi University. Of course, we were with him there when we were still in campus. Nixon Korir was my Secretary General under the leadership of David Osiani and the University of Nairobi. These are people who are coming in with the sort of activism background. Therefore, you expect them to hit the ground as soon as they land in Parliament. Therefore, we we are going to see like now the new faces of Babu Namwamba. So people like Millie Odhiambo, by they don't be surprised. They might be given a run for their money in terms of running the show in the National Assembly.
You know,
maybe you can talk about somebody like Naisula Lesuda. We did see her being active a bit in the Senate.
You know, in every house there's a small core group that develops and who become the thought leaders or who become the ones who express the thoughts of what their coalition thinks or give the coalition or the party direction. So what we have now with these new people, I don't think the young guys will have much of an impact. Because I didn't see much of an impact from the young guys in the last parliament. The ones who made an impact were the ones who had been around for some time and who carried some weight in their parties. I think you've seen Babu Owino being pulled away from a press conference because he's about to speak something that could be toxic. So you're not likely to see them becoming very active, no. But the ones who are serving their second and third terms are likely now to form the leadership and to give the others, to guide the others through. Because you might come to the house and you are very good at TLL and TB, but you don't know the standing orders. So you'll never get a chance to speak.
Right.
Or you are a young man and you start getting impatient. The speaker, of course, wants to retain the dignity of the house. He'll tell you you're way down the list. So I think that's how it's going to happen.
All right.
We shouldn't expect too much from these new guys.
These young guys.
Yes.
All right. Finally, how do you think women performed in this election in terms of the National Assembly and the Senate? Of course, we have a new thing that we have 3 elected senators for the first time ever. Mm-hmm. How do you think women performed?
I think in the Senate they tried, because remember in the 11th Parliament we had all the 18 nominated women. Now to have 3 is a plus, and there are always somewhere to start with. So I'm sure if both sides will agree, we'll even have a deputy speaker or a speaker who is a woman. When it comes to the National Assembly, sadly a bit, if you go by the numbers we had in the last Parliament, we have so many women going for elective positions, which we've seen some of those positions taken by men, like the Thika Town, Alex Nganga. Now, it's a man who has come in. So for women, that is a reduction in terms of their numbers. And I think that one might also weigh in terms of the issues that they will want to push across. But again, we've also seen some women come in, like we've seen Lesuda come in, we've seen Martha Wangari, we've seen Liza Chelule from Nakuru, and these are people who are quite articulate in the Senate. So again, if they fight for their space, right, then we'll see a new voice emerging that was not there in the last Parliament.
Duncan?
I think in terms of if we are to rate whether they performed very well, we can only give credit to the 3 pioneer senators, that is Susan Kehika, Professor Kamar, and Fatuma Dulo. Because as Rosalind says, we've had Naisula come in, we've had Martha come in, but we've had a minors in Alice Nganga, we've had a minors in Mary Amase, Teso South. So in the National Assembly, Judith Sijeni she was giving it a try. Elachi was giving it a try. They were not successful. Men still took over. So it's only in the Senate whereby we can say it is a big plus having women elected as pioneer senators in the country.
And Girashi, this is still way lower than the 2/3 gender rule. The much talked about 2/3 gender rule, and that is likely to be one of the main agendas of the top women, isn't it?
Yes, and it's something that we need to bring to closure. I don't support the gender rule as stated in the Constitution.
Oh, you don't?
Because I don't think we should be thinking of them that these are women. How will women behave, or how will women?
But it's a fact.
But
we don't have enough women.
Let me make my point. I think what we need to think of them as MPs, judge them as MPs, because like in the last Parliament, there were a lot of MPs from the Rift Valley, and you couldn't hear or see them do anything useful. Yet they were men. So let us think of an MP as an MP. Is he or she good as an MP? Do they drive issues? Of course, when it's a woman, then they, like I remember in the 10th Parliament, they drove the anti-FGM bill. In the 11th Parliament, they brought in the bill to provide girls with sanitary towels. pushed very important legislation like Millie Odhiambo and Priscilla Nyokafi, but not because they were women, because they were good MPs. Yes. So let us work towards getting good MPs and progressively, and you'll notice this time we actually have more women in the National Assembly and we have more women elected in the Senate.
Right.
And they're going to come in as
Rosalind,
nominated.
Very quickly, what do you think about that thing? He says we need to put it to bed once and for all. And for 4 years in the 11th Parliament, it was not able to go through. What do you think will happen or should happen?
I know it will come in, it will be introduced, because remember it was something pending, so it will have to be reintroduced. But I share the same position with Ngirashu, that the women that have been there have not come out to actually tell us the reason why we need to have more women come in. And I think it was even a challenge for those who came in this reserved position, that is those in the Senate and even those in the National Assembly, because they have gone for elective positions and left those positions for others to also be nominated. So I don't see why we need to have almost 80 nominated women in the National Assembly when we can actually give them an opportunity to go and face off with men.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I've been bashed for never having 2/3 gender rule in my panels. Today I have fulfilled that. Thank you so much, John Ngirashu, Duncan Haimba, and Rosalind Abala. Joined me on this extension of Kivumbi 2017, our post-election analysis with a special focus on Parliament, both houses, the National Assembly and the Senate. We shall be seeing in the next 2-3 weeks or so how that will be shaping up the leadership in both houses. Will Alden Duale maintain his position as leader of majority? What will happen in the Senate? So we shall be keeping an eye on that for you. Thank you for watching. I am Ben Kitili. I'll be with you at the top of the hour with KTN Prime.